Sonny Edwards has joined us in the room. Lovely to see you. He is aiming to defend his IBF crown at the weekend at Wembley. It's going to be a massive night. Sonny, first of all, for our listeners that don't know you, hello, welcome to the show. Tell us a bit about you.
I'm the IBF flyweight champion. I'm a career athlete since I was 9 years old. It's all I've ever done, boxing. I've never clocked in for work. Like I said, 19-0, and I'm looking forward to going 20-0 on Saturday night. I don't think I've had a hard fight really yet. I think I've beat everyone easy. And Eddie Hearn, the best promoter in the world, thinks that I might be the best fighter in Britain right now. So
is that right?
I do. Honestly, this young man is a phenomenon. Like I never really used to like him that much. I mean, if you follow him on,
say what you feel, Eddie.
I'm going to tell you what I feel.
Is it neutral?
I used to follow him on social media a couple of times. Like I bumped into him on shows, and I said to him, "Sonny, like, what are you saying?" Like, because he just
trying to get your attention.
And then I thought, you know what? If you can't beat him, sign him.
Well, exactly, and it worked.
It did, but not just like he's outspoken. And what I like about him is he's real, right? He's very intelligent. Actually, he's intelligent, and he's intelligent in boxing, but he's really good. So when you have a fighter that's a real character, that's outspoken, like many people don't like him. I don't mind. He don't mind either. Like he definitely doesn't mind, because if you follow his Twitter account, you'll know. Well, but when you have the ability to beat everyone in your division, I want you on my team, and I think he can do it.
I've got to tell you, I love him. He's just walked in here and caused a riot, man. There's people falling about the studio. It's brilliant. I want to ask you, mate. You're 19-0. You said you're going to be 20-0. Supremely confident. I get that. But what's going to be different about the weekend? Is anything going to be different? Well,
nothing's been different for the last 17 years in boxing. I don't think I've ever lost a fight in the amateurs. I'll be real. Boxing's never been hard for me. You chuck, some of Eddie's featherweights and super featherweights in the ring of me sparring. They leave red-faced and not wanting to come back. And I'm a flyweight. Boxing, the 20-foot, 18-foot, 16-foot square has been where I've spent most of the time of my life doing anything else. From 11 years old, I'm doing 12 rounds down Newham Boxing Club.
Where's the line then? Where do you draw the line between supreme confidence, which boxers must have, and overconfidence? Because I don't think for a minute you'll underestimate your opponent at the weekend, right, Campus? I don't think for a minute you will. But where is that line?
Well, I respect boxing. I understand boxing. I understand that going in the ring could be my life, could be my faculties, it could be everything. So I prepare diligently. I don't do anything else, Ali. Like I said, I've never had a job. I've never done anything else. So I don't have time to be complacent. I focus solely just on the task at hand, and I love it. Like, genuinely, that's the difference I see between me and a lot of boxers, and I see it through our conversations we could have. They don't do it because they love fighting. Take away the belts, take away the money, take away the TV. I'm still going to a ring and fighting someone. Not a lot of other people would do that.
Where did that come from?
Well, I've been addicted to it since I was 9 years old. What's
your first memory then as a night? Where did that start off? What put that implant in your brain?
I don't know. Do you know what I think it was? When I first went in a boxing gym, I was just watching my brother for 3 months. I was too young. And then the first day that I did go in, I think the trainer was a bit senile and a bit old. He put me in sparring straight over a kid that was far bigger than me. Like, I've got a good 10 kilos on me. I'd never been in a boxing ring before. And he battered me and he made me cry. And then for about 2 months, I was petrified of getting in the ring. Petrified of it. But this kid went and did summer. Well, my dad had us to the gym 2-3 times a week. This kid come back, I'm still much smaller than him. This time he's leaving with tears in his eyes. And just that, like, one little villain origin story, I thought, hold on, if I put in work when someone else doesn't, I can beat them up. And then I just ran with it ever since then. It's that opened my eyes to there's nothing, everything is perceived in the mind that, I don't want to get in, I'm scared of him now. I'm going for it with my 4-year-old son now. There's one kid in the gym, a 5-year-old that he's scared of, you know what I mean? And you won't get in the ring with him, yeah? Everyone else will get, he wants to fight me all the time. I'm telling him, you're scared of little Asa, and I can hit a lot harder than he can, you know what I mean? Amazing. But I get it, I've been there.
Tell me a little bit about your opponent then, Joyce Campos. So apparently he's been DMing you for about a year, and he's been trying 2 years. Yeah. And what's his thing? He likes to try and get into his opponent's head?
I think he just wanted an opportunity. I think really? Up the mountains in Chile, man, it's hard. He had a GoFundMe. I thought I was going to see Eddie with a little $5,000 donation, but I didn't see it on there. But good riddance. Like, it's at the end of the day, it's war. Like, but I don't care about my opponents, especially not a 26-year-old that's never stepped foot out of Chile, really. I've never been in a 12-round fight. If anything, I can't believe I'm getting the money I'm getting for this fight. I'll be real, Eddie. I think it's...
we can reduce it if you want.
No. I just think, you know what I mean? It's just a bit like... But Eddie knows that I want a big fight, so he knows it's not me. Right? I've got Campos. If it was up to me, it'd be Baum, it'd be in Martinez, it'd be Dalekane, it'd be a super flyweight champion, it'd be someone big. I'm only in the business for big fights, and that's why I signed with the man on my left. It would have sounded better if it was on my right. That's why, because he's got all the big fights and he wants to make them now, not, yeah, we'll build it up in 18 months. Nah, the schedule, do you know what I mean? Let's get it now.
Well, if you know you've got ultimate confidence you're going to win at Wembley at the weekend, what do you want next then? Because you'll know now, surely.
Well, Martinez wants £10 million to fight me. So probably, arguably, the only fight that makes sense is Bam Rodriguez. I think he's probably the hardest test at the moment out of the other, the other two champions, I guess. But one I'm extremely confident with, and I think after Eddie watched his last two fights, we had to come forward. He didn't look like the one that could stand there and just pick off someone that was coming forward to him. And Eddie knows that I can win 12-round fights without ever crossing that trench. I can stay right behind my field of giant line.
You don't feel like you're going to be one of those fighters. You talk about hunger a lot, right? Hunger to stay in it because you love the sport and you love boxing. Eddie, you've probably seen a lot of fighters that have come through and then they make the money and then they lose hunger a little bit. Do you ever see that happening to him, or is he a different animal?
No, I think boxing's one of those sports where you have the right to lose the hunger when you change your life. It's a horrible sport. It's so tough. You know, what these guys have to go through mentally, physically, day after day. You know, you see the bright lights, you see the big nights. You don't see the hill sprints, the hard sparring, the weight making. Like, it's a brutal sport. I find it fascinating that certain fighters keep that desire when they change their life. I mean, I'm talking about high level. I'm talking about Canelo. I'm talking about Anthony Joshua. I'm talking about Katie Taylor. Like, these are really inspirational people that, like, boxing really has notoriously been a sport to get yourself out of where you are. You know what I'm saying, Sonny? So it's like kids who are going the wrong way or looking for an opportunity to change their life. So when you change your life, how do you stay as hungry as your opponent who's coming through, who has nothing? You know, Canelo Alvarez used to sell ice pops on the street in Guadalajara, right? Now he's got, I don't know, many hundred millions, houses all over the world, and he still gets up, does his runs, does his hard spars, makes the weight, and he'll fight the young kids coming through with nothing. You know, Sonny's not right there yet at Canelo Alvarez land, but he's now comfortable in his life. But you have to have a passion for whatever you do. When you have a passion for boxing, it takes the other things away. And I think boxing is one of those really addictive sports that once you venture into, it becomes your life. You know, whether that's in the gym, whether that's a promoter, whether that's a broadcaster, you fall in love with the sport. But the real winners, I reckon 90% of fighters, more, 95% of fighters, once they make their money, once they win their titles, they're looking for the exit.
Eddie,
ones that are chasing greatness is what we want.
I listened yesterday, and you guys have probably seen it. I couldn't believe what I was listening to, and it was Mike Tyson talking about the moment he knew, right? And I couldn't believe how brutally honest he was. And I thought somebody like Mike Tyson, with an ego like Mike Tyson, I would never admitted it. He actually said to the guy who was interviewing him, he said, I knew there and then after defeat that I'd lost my appetite to box. I'd lost my desire to box, right? Now, for him to say that, I thought it was incredible. Do the majority of boxers know that themselves, or does somebody has to tell them?
Well, that's when you need a great team, because the trainer will see it. You know, the first one to see it is the trainer in camp, really, in the spars, in the training sessions. You know, just a different kind of desire. Yeah. But a fighter knows when it's time. When a fighter starts fighting for money, it becomes very dangerous, because you lose the desire, you start cutting corners. You know, you don't want to go into a fight not prepared to give everything and on the line that night. So, but many fighters, you know, how many fighters carry on after they know?
Yeah.
What's his ceiling, do you think?
Honestly, I think Sonny Edwards, I said yesterday, and I had a bit of stick on back and forward on social, where I think he could be Britain's best pound for pound fighter. Like, I watched him win a world title when I didn't like him. When he beat Muthalani back at York Hall, and I thought to myself, I hope he gets beat. I can't stand him, right? And I watched the fight, and I was like, oh my god, he beat one of the best world champions in the sport, who's been a world champion for years. It was embarrassing. Like, that's how good it was. Muthalani was embarrassed. Like, he looked like he just wanted to go home. And then I thought, oh, this kid can really fight. And I watched him again and again. Some people, he's still got to prove himself. He's beaten some great champions, but to be elite, to be a true great, you have to go and clean up the division. There's 3 other champions: Delakian, Julio Cesar Martinez that we promote, and Bam Rodriguez that we promote. Bam Rodriguez is probably the standout guy. him against Bam Rodriguez is probably one of the best fights in boxing. Now, these guys weigh in at 8 stone, right? So they don't have the luxury of being the superstar walking down the street like AJ and 6'5" and glasses and, you know, big brand deals and stuff like that. So they have to fight and they have to be more competitive and they have to get in those fights quicker. But when you got him, it's great because I know that once he beats Campos on Saturday, Jesse Rodriguez will be over. I'm trying to close that deal. That fight could happen in November. Fight could happen in Vegas. That's a massive fight. And if he beats him, he'll fight Martinez or Delakian. Then he'll become undisputed. Then he'll move up. Then he'll fight Chocolatito. Then he'll fight Estrada. And I can roll him into those fights like that. The most depressing thing about the sport of boxing is not being able to make the fights. Some people, well, everybody, blames me. I just want to see him. I don't want to see I want to see him fight all of those guys, one after the other. And I will pay him royally every time. Because if he's getting in there and taking risks in fights we want to see, he deserves it all. And honestly, he will fight anybody. And Saturday's a difficult one because Campos, you know, he's underplaying him a little bit. He's not in Sonny's league, but he's an undefeated kid who's coming to change his life. The things we talked about earlier. The pressure on Sonny is to back up what he says, which is to go out and embarrass this guy, hopefully stop him. And then hopefully we can get him and Bam Rodriguez in the ring and maybe announce a mega fight.
It's funny, isn't it, with boxing? It's one of those sports where you can have a brilliant promoter like Eddie, but you can do so much work yourself with the way that you can speak and the way that you can use social media. And you certainly use social media a lot, don't you? Tell us about some of the spats. I know that Shane McGuigan is one of the ones that is quite interesting. He's going to be at the fight at the weekend with Ellie, isn't he?
Well, now, to be fair with Shane, he's only ever tweeted me once. At the Lomachenko versus Luke Campbell rules meeting, if you can remember, Charlie was in undercard against Martinez. He tried making a passing comment. Obviously, I have chat for anyone. I'm not scared of no situation. And he tried grabbing my face, which I didn't let him do. I grabbed his arm and then he walked off. Then he walked back past, said a little comment, then was outside of his whole stable. Yeah, I'm talking at the time Lawrence Okoli. I'm talking the whole Josh Taylor, all of them, every single fighter he had. And then he come over and he was trying to make out he was joking. And all of a sudden, we're shouting. Some of the paid Matchroom staff, security had to separate us. You had Lawrence trying to be like, oh, in between. But now that's where that really started. I'll be real. I don't like him and how he treats fighters and how their family treat fighters. I mean, I don't think there's any other boxing management, trainer, however you stable that has been in court with more fighters when they're leaving. If a fighter wants to leave and go do something else, we risk our lives to get in the ring. I don't think there should be people really like putting their foot on their neck to not let them. Especially when I know the stories, fighters jumping off the scales and getting 25% pay cuts and, going with it. And then the next fight, them trying to do it again when they're promoting shows. So allegedly, there was a lot of things that I was happy with. Because I'm in the centre of boxing. I'm a boxer. I've got a lot of boxing friends. I've only been a boxer my whole life. So I hear the stories. People come and talk to me and tell me about them. And, certain times I think there should be certain people not in boxing. But
Sonny, I want to ask you, mate, we're obviously got everything crossed. We don't have any doubt you'll come through the weekend, beat Campos, but we're talking about all wanting to see the big fights. I can't think of a bigger fight probably than a family fight. Now your brother seems to have been calling you. I'm reading, what's going on there?
I don't know. I think my brother's made a few mistakes in his career. I feel like not taking the fight Eddie offered him after the Martinez fight was one of them. I won't go into that. Eddie knows what fight I'm talking about. I think that was a mistake. I think leaving my gym was a mistake. I think letting Joe Gallagher manage him was a mistake. And now what you're seeing is someone that's been at the top, been at the biggest events, because I was there, pay-per-view, box office, sold out, biggest names in boxing. And now because of his choices he's made outside the ring, now he's fighting in a 6-rounder small hall fight on his manager and trainer's small hall show with not even a YouTube link. So I can only imagine the mindset that he's in when it comes to his career. And I was obviously always the younger brother in the shadow, looking up and being inspired by my brother, sort of fighting his corner. If anyone had anything to say negatively about him, before I was defending myself on social media, trust me, go back to the archives. I'm arguing with anyone that wanted to say anything bad about my brother.
What happened?
I just think, it's hard sometimes for older brothers to see the younger brother's success, I think. And without going too deep into it, I just think if he was in a happier place where it comes to his career, I think, there's 4,000, 2,000, 3,000 bantamweights in the world. He's not called one of those out. He's called out his flyweight little brother. I just think I get, it's shocking, shock value, clickbaits, and that's probably what he's doing it for and only ever done it for, just to get his name out there a bit more. But yeah, I think everyone knows what happened if we got in the ring anyway.
Interesting.
I want to ask you a fight that's close to my heart at the weekend, if I may ask your opinion on it. Josh Taylor, obviously, Madison Square Garden at the weekend, fighting Lopez after what shall we say, perhaps just to call it the controversy of his last fight. How important is this for him, and how do you see it going?
I mean, for me, Josh Taylor's career's turned real strange. He beat Ramirez. I mean, he was pound for pound one of the top fighters. He's an incredible fighter. Everyone knows he got beat by Jack Catterall. It was it weren't even really that close. But if you even want to call it a close fight, but Catterall won the fight, and then disappeared. Really, I mean, he hasn't boxed for well over a year. Teofimo Lopez is mentally unstable. Well, I think emotionally unstable is a better way to put it. I don't know what you're going to get from him. I don't think he's the fighter that he was. I'm not even sure that he was ever that fighter, to be honest with you. You saw him in the Kambosos fight, and I think he gets... I mean, if Josh Taylor's the same fighter, I think he stops Teofimo Lopez late on in the fight. I think his work rate's too much for him, but I actually don't know where Josh Taylor is in his career. I mean, I'm just talking as a fan. I'm talking about punch resistance. I'm talking about weight maker, everything.
Do you know what I think happens a lot of the time? Boxers spend so long trying to get to that level of, I've done this, I've achieved this, I can now, talk confidently about everything. And I think I got taught a long time ago by a very wise man, create the hype, don't believe it. And I've really genuinely lived by it. I think people, and you see it with on the amateur days when people got their GB tracksuit and then didn't want to enter the ABAs because they didn't really want to have to prove it. They just thought they were special because they had a little logo on their tracksuit. And now you see the people like Josh Taylor and Teofimo Lopez, they both got their achieved it, undisputed status, biggest win ever, etc. And then what came after that was probably them walking in the ring with some complacency, maybe some I'm better than them because of this.
So
when Wrench do every fight.
What the two you're trying to, unless I'm mistaken, you'll tell me. In some ways, it's easier to get there. It's harder staying there.
I had a Tiger. It's easy to lose it. It's easy to switch. Like, once you genuinely believe... I've always thought I'm better than everyone I get in the ring with. Always. But I know I have to prove it. I know I have to get in their first round, make them miss, get in their head a little bit, win the first round, win the second round, win the third round, and start going. Some fighters, I believe, start thinking, I'm just so good, I can get in there. Like Teofimo Lopez, how he approached Kambosos. He was really switched on for Lomachenko. And he had a really good start, and then Lomachenko started edging back into it, and he won enough, and he won the fight. And he had the big hoorah. Against Kambosos, he got put down in the first round because he come out like Kambosos couldn't fight. He's seen him, he'd only beat Selby or he did whatever he's done, and just thought he could walk him down and bully him, and then found out quickly that he couldn't. And then his whole camp, probably whatever he did in camp, then was laid bare. Like, when you get in a boxing ring, I like it to whoever's seen Black Panther. When they, when a new king, a new Black Panther comes, they get stripped down of their powers and they have to fight and challenge each other. The winner gets to be the new Black Panther. And I think that's kind of what it is, because really all boxing is you fight one night and then they use that experience of what you was in the ring and then they blow it up times 100, when usually it's not really even the fighter. As a boxer, I know that you usually don't even see the best of a fighter in every single fight. They'll turn up when the night's right, and if their mind's right and physically they're right. But a lot of fighters just believe, because what they've done in the past, that they get in the ring and it's going to be the same, when really they need to prove it every time. And like I said before, wrench due every single day in boxing, every single spar, every time you get it's a fight, 2 humans, 2 arms, 2 legs. It's always the same. Like, but just because, they've only done this before, or they've only done this and I've done this, that's what boxers buy into. They buy into, what the promoters sell in some ways. Like, there's been so many fighters, it's like I'm sat there sort of half waiting for them to unravel when it all to go psh, because in my eyes they haven't really ever passed the eye test. They've been sort of well match made, let's say. They've been against fighters that have been dragged up away each time they've got the knockout. So all of a sudden everyone thinks they're this massive fighter, the best fighter in the world, when really they probably had harder spars than most of their fights. But me, I've been kind of trying to be the opposite. You haven't
been manufactured.
No, because I didn't get the hardest fight straight away because the budget just wasn't there. But
Sonny, do me a quick favour because we're going to run out of time, but I just want you to hold the belt up to that camera there because there'll be people watching us on YouTube that want to see what it's like. I mean, it's bigger than you. My goodness, look at it. Wow.
It should be like a mini version.
It should be, shouldn't
Down
there?
the weights, it gets smaller.
Because I've got this dream of walking in places like wrestling, you know, like with the over
Yeah,
shoulder
with it
and
across.
that, but it gets to like
It's
here and I
just
can't
too
see
big.
When you become undisputed with 4 of them, no one will be able to see your face.
I know, exactly.
What do you think he's here for?
Yeah, just be like a belt, like walking belts.
Like a totem pole. Sonny, listen, good luck. You
Best of luck,
certainly
mate.
talk a good talk. And like Eddie says, like there are so many people that are big fans of you that know that you also talk a good game as well and that you're probably going to do really well at the weekend. And we really look forward to seeing you. Eddie reckons it's a harder fight than what you're saying. So whatever it is.
He would say that though, is the promoter of the
Well,
show?
exactly. He wants people to watch it, and so do I. So we'll see you at Wembley at the weekend. Thank you both. It's always brilliant having you guys
Thanks,
in.
boys.
It was really nice to meet you as well, Sonny.
No,
So
you too.
good luck, everybody. If you want to watch it, it's on DAZN at the weekend. It's live from Wembley. It's going to be a really big one. So, guys, thank you so much, Sonny Edwards and also Eddie Hearn on the Breakfast Show this morning.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods. Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.